Welcome back to Strange Shadows, a place where the night feels a little heavier, a little quieter, a little too aware of your presence. Before we begin tonight's descent into the dark, take a slow breath, feel the room around you, listen to whatever small sound your house makes right now. The hum of a light, the settling of a wall, the faint vibration of your own pulse. Now ask yourself, are you truly alone at this moment? Or is there a quiet space somewhere behind you, just out of sight, where something could be standing still? Tonight's theme is simple and terrifying. Being alone in the dark when something feels wrong deeply, instinctively wrong. A feeling you can't shake, a feeling that clings to the back of your neck, whispering, "Pay attention." Before we start, tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from tonight? And if you're brave enough to make it to the end, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep your lights dim, because darkness always listens. Tonight, I will tell you 5 true inspired night terror stories. Stories that come from real people, people who swore they weren't dreaming, people who were awake, painfully awake. Stories of flickering lights, unopened windows that suddenly open, footsteps that know you're breathing, voicemails you never recorded, and figures that wait for you in the dark. If you've ever felt watched in your own home, if you've ever heard a sound you couldn't explain, if you've ever frozen because something didn't feel right, then you already know how these stories begin and how they never truly end. Settle in, stay quiet, listen closely, because the dark is listening too. Let's begin. I used to be comfortable being alone at night. I even preferred it. Silence felt like a blanket, warm, neutral, predictable. But that changed last year, in an apartment where the walls were thin, but the darkness was thick. It starts on a weeknight, Tuesday, I think. One of those nights when exhaustion feels like wet sand pulling your body down. It was 3:14 a.m. when I first heard it. A soft tapping, not loud, not threatening, just persistent. Tap, tap, tap. Have you ever woken up and immediately sensed something was wrong before you were fully conscious? Like your instincts were awake before your mind was? That's what it felt like. I sat up in bed, the darkness thick around me, and listened. Nothing. Then, tap, tap, tap. This time closer, somewhere near the door. I remember thinking, should I ignore this, or is that exactly what I shouldn't do? I got out of bed slowly, each step feeling too loud. The apartment was small, just a bedroom, a narrow hallway, a living room, and a kitchen. But in the dark, the place felt stretched, elongated, like the shadows made the distance longer. I opened my bedroom door, and that's when I noticed it. The hallway light was on, but not steady, flickering. It pulsed in a slow, rhythmic pattern. Off, on, off, on, exactly every 2 seconds. I frowned. The bulb wasn't old. I had replaced it a month before. I stepped closer, and something strange happened. The light stopped flickering. It went completely still, perfectly normal. I stepped back. It started flickering again. Forward stable, back flicker, almost like the light was reacting to me. Have you ever had that feeling that something was watching you, but only when you weren't watching it? I took another step forward. The tapping returned, but this time, it wasn't coming from the door. No, it was coming from the hallway itself, as if the air, the darkness, the space just outside of the light, was knocking. Tap, tap, tap. That's when my phone buzzed in my pocket. At 3:17 a.m., a notification from a device I didn't recognize. Displayed on the screen was, "New shared note from unknown device." A blank note, just empty space. And then another, "New shared photo." My breath froze. The photo was of my hallway, that exact moment, taken from behind me. But I was alone. At least, I thought I was. Tell me, what would you do if your phone received a photo of you, taken inside your own home while you were alone in the dark? Would you run, call someone, or just stand there like I did, afraid that moving would make something notice you. My hands trembled. I turned off the phone screen and looked up, my heart hammering. The hallway light went out. Not a flicker, not a fade. Just click, and darkness swallowed everything. That was the first time I heard it. A whisper, soft, close, right behind me, calling my name, slowly, dragging every syllable. I froze. Wouldn't you? I didn't move. I didn't even breathe, because I knew, and I don't know how I knew, that if I turned around, I would see something I wasn't meant to see. The whisper came again, a little clearer, a little hungrier. My name. I felt warmth brush the back of my neck. A breath that wasn't mine. And then, something stepped in the dark. Just one step, right behind me. My brain screamed. My body stayed still. Tell me, if you were standing in the dark hallway of your own home, and something whispered your name from behind you, would you turn around? Or would you freeze like your life depended on it? Because I did. I froze. Complete, paralyzing terror. For a long moment, nothing moved. Not me, not the dark, not whatever was in it. Then, the whisper stopped. The tapping stopped. The air went still, and the hallway light flicked back on, glowing steadily, as if nothing had happened at all. Only one thing changed. At the far end of the hallway, almost invisible, a silhouette stood, dark, motionless, shaped like a person, but only visible when I wasn't looking directly at it. Every time I glanced straight at it, it vanished. Averted my eyes and it returned, closer, each time. I stepped backward into my room and shut the door silently. My phone buzzed again. A final message. Don't turn around. The lights in my room went out. Something breathed next to my ear and whispered my name one more time. Would you turn around or freeze? The night it started, the air felt wrong. Not cold, not warm, just wrong. Like the room was breathing in a way I didn't understand. I woke up sometime after 2 a.m. because a thin, icy breeze brushed across my face, the kind that slips under your skin and makes your bones feel hollow. My eyes opened slowly. My bedroom felt darker than usual, as if the shadows were layered. I lifted my head slightly and saw my window wide open, just gently swinging back and forth, letting the night breathe into the room. But here's the thing. I screwed that window shut months ago. Not locked, not taped. Screwed. 4 metal screws. Drilled in because the latch was broken, and yet there it was, wide open, moving softly in the breeze. Have you ever seen something in your home that simply should not be possible? How did it make your stomach drop? Did your body understand the danger before your mind did? I sat completely still, staring at it. The screws were lying neatly on the windowsill. Not yanked, not forced, just placed. Like someone had taken them out gently, quietly, deliberately. The cold breeze flowed into the room again. My first instinct was to rush to the door, but something made me stay frozen in bed. I remember thinking, if something opened that window, is it still in the room? My heart hammered against my ribs. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and opened my security camera app. I had one camera outside pointed at the backyard. The screen loaded slowly, buffering, then finally showed the live feed. There was nothing, just an empty yard, silent, still. I exhaled shakily until I noticed something in the corner of the footage. A shape. It wasn't a person, not exactly. It wasn't even moving. It was static. A tall, distorted figure that looked like it was made out of television noise, like a glitch standing upright. It stood there in the same spot for minutes, hours, maybe, completely still. My camera had never shown anything like that before. No malfunction, no static, just this figure standing, watching. I zoomed in. The screen pixelated, then froze entirely, and that's when I heard it. Breathing. Not from the window, not from the hallway, from inside the walls. Long, slow breaths. Like something was pressed against the drywall, inhaling deeply, trying to smell me through it. Have you ever heard breathing where no breathing should be? Would you call someone? Run out of the house, or lie there hoping you imagined it? Because I lay there, terrified, back pressed against the headboard, phone in my hand, listening to the wall inhale, and then exhale, then inhale again, closer. The drywall lightly vibrated. That's how close it was. I whispered to myself, "No, no, no." My phone vibrated violently in my hand. An alert. Motion detected bedroom. But I was the only one in the bedroom. At least, I thought I was. I looked around slowly. Nothing had moved. And then the alert changed. Motion detected inside camera unavailable. Inside? But I didn't have an inside camera. My heart stopped. I only had one camera and it was outside. Why was the app showing motion inside the house? The breathing in the wall stopped. The room went too quiet. I got out of bed, backing away from the window, reaching for the door. I opened it and almost screamed. 2 police officers were standing at the end of the hall. My neighbor had called them. Apparently, she'd seen someone outside my window an hour earlier and got worried. They asked if I was all right. I told them about the window, about the screws, about the breathing. They stepped inside until they reached the threshold of my bedroom. Then both officers stopped abruptly. Their expressions changed. There was no confusion, no annoyance, only fear. A deep, cold fear that people don't fake. I said, "Aren't you coming in?" They didn't answer. The older officer swallowed hard and said, "Ma'am, we're not stepping into that room." I stared at them, confused. "Why not?" The younger one looked pale and whispered, "Something's wrong in there," and they backed away, slowly, never taking their eyes off the doorway. Have you ever seen someone refuse to enter your bedroom because of a feeling? What would that do to your mind? They checked the rest of the house. Nothing. No intruder, no forced entry, but both officers refused to return to my bedroom. They left me standing there, trembling, alone. After they drove away, I went back to my room carefully, keeping one hand on the wall for balance. The window had fogged up from the cold air, and someone from the inside had written words in the condensation, slowly, unevenly, in long strokes, like a finger dragged with intent. Let me back in. My knees nearly gave out. Back in? Back in from where? And when had it ever been outside? A soft noise came from the wall behind me. Not breathing this time. Scratching. Faint, but deliberate. Like nails sliding very slowly downward. I ran out of the room and didn't return until sunrise. Even now, I keep the window boarded. But sometimes, I still hear it. Breathing, scratching, waiting. Tell me, what would you have done when even the police refused to step inside your bedroom? The storm that night didn't sound real. It didn't roar. It didn't rumble. It growled low, constant, like something circling the house. I was alone in my rural home. No neighbors for miles. Just trees and wind and darkness that felt too thick to see through. Around 11:40 p.m., the lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. A total blackout. I stood in the living room, holding my breath, waiting for the electricity to surge back on. It didn't. Only the wind answered, scraping branches across the siding, almost like fingernails dragging along the walls. I lit a candle. The flame flickered violently, even though there was no draft. That should have been my first warning. But the real warning came later, when something moved in the kitchen. At first, it was small. A shuffle, a soft step, something brushing lightly against the floor tiles. I whispered to myself, "It's just the house, just settling." But houses don't settle in footsteps. The storm growled again, lightning flashing briefly outside. For a fraction of a second, the kitchen doorway lit up bright white. Nothing there. The darkness returned like a wave crashing back down. Then, a second flash. The kitchen appeared again. Still empty. No movement. No figure. Just shadows. Have you ever felt watched in complete darkness? The kind of watching that doesn't feel curious, but hungry. I took a cautious step forward, and that's when I heard it clearly. A footstep. Slow, heavy, deliberate, right in the kitchen. I froze. Lightning flashed again brighter this time, and the room lit up for barely one full heartbeat. Still nothing, but the footsteps continued. One step, then another. Yet every flash of lightning showed an empty kitchen. It didn't make sense. The sound was unmistakable. Someone was walking, but no one was visible. The storm rumbled closer, and then I saw something wet on the floor. I held the candle up. Muddy footprints, leading straight from the back door, across the kitchen, and toward the hallway, toward my bedroom. I followed the trail slowly, candle shaking in my hand. Each print was detailed, clear, barefoot, not boots, not shoes. Human, too human. My heart pounded. Someone's in the house. They're in here with me, I whispered under my breath. But the footprints stopped at my bedroom door. Just stopped. As if the person had walked in, but never walked back out. The candle flickered violently. I reached out with trembling fingers and pushed my bedroom door open. Creak. Lightning flashed at the exact moment the door opened. But the room was empty. Just an unlit space, a perfectly made bed, and shadows crawling across the floor. I was about to back away when my phone buzzed in my pocket. A voicemail. No caller ID. Time-stamped. 2 minutes ago. During the blackout, my blood went cold. Hands shaking. I put the phone to my ear. Static. Then a low whisper. A voice that sounded almost like mine. I saw you. The voicemail ended abruptly. My body went numb. Have you ever heard your own voice? When you know you didn't record anything? Would you run? Hide? Freeze? Lightning flashed again, and this time, something was there, in the living room behind me. Not standing, not walking, crouched. A figure hunched low to the ground, spine arched in a way no human spine bends, its head tilted in the direction of the candlelight, its hands flat on the floor, like it was preparing to crawl toward me. The candle flickered so violently the flame nearly went out. In the brief, stuttering light, I saw its silhouette shift, slowly, quietly, like it was waiting for the darkness. And then, the candle died. No wind, no movement, just sudden, suffocating blackness. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. The storm went silent, and in that dead quiet, something moved rapidly across the floor. A scraping sound, fast, approaching me. My entire body locked up. Something exhaled inches from my knee. Then, lightning exploded outside, lighting the entire house for a single, blinding second. The figure was right in front of me. Long arms, hollow face, eyes too wide, head tilted, listening. The light went out. Darkness slammed down. I bolted. I didn't care where I was running. I didn't care if I tripped or hit a wall or ran outside into the storm. I just ran. I don't remember leaving the house. I don't remember unlocking the door. All I remember is ending up barefoot in the mud, rain soaking my clothes, screaming for help into the empty countryside. By morning, the footprints inside the house were gone. Every single one. But the voicemail is still on my phone. I've listened to it 100 times. It always ends the same way. I saw you. Tell me, do you think the figure was human, or something else that was only using the storm as cover? Traveling alone always felt peaceful to me. Hotels, rentals, unfamiliar rooms. Most people find them unsettling, but I love the anonymity. No expectations, no noise, just temporary quiet. But that changed in the house I rented last autumn. It was an older place, built in the late 60s, judging by the creaking floors and the floral wallpaper yellowed by time. The listing said charming, secluded, perfect for a quiet getaway. Secluded was an understatement. The nearest neighbor was half a mile away. The first night was uneventful. I unpacked, made tea, and went to bed early. But the second night, something happened that still makes my skin prickle. It began with a single, heavy sound. Thump from above me. I opened my eyes in the dark. Another thump, thump. Footsteps, slow, measured, in the attic. I checked my phone, 1:58 a.m. I listened. The steps continued. One by one. Each one dragging slightly. Like whatever was up there was moving with weight. Have you ever heard footsteps overhead when you know you're supposed to be alone? How did your body react? Did your heartbeat shift into your throat? Mine did. I whispered into the dark. No, it's just the house. But old houses don't imitate the sound of a person walking. Another heavy step, then another, right above my bed. I slid out from under the covers and held my breath. The footsteps stopped. The silence pressed against my ears, thick and dense. Then, a new sound. A slow exhale. Not from the attic. From outside my bedroom door. I froze. Someone was on the other side of the door. The doorknob twitched just slightly. A soft metallic click. I covered my mouth with a shaking hand. Another breath came from the other side of the door. Long, slow, deliberate, like the person was trying to listen to me breathe. Have you ever tried to stay silent, even when your lungs were begging for air? Would you move closer to the door, or stay perfectly still, afraid that any sound you make would invite something inside? I stayed still, for at least a full minute. The footsteps in the attic resumed, but now they were moving faster, pacing, dragging, turning, back and forth, directly above me. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my phone and searched the rental listing again. Desperate for some explanation, maybe others had mentioned noises. I scrolled down to the reviews. Most were normal, but one review buried far below caught my eye. Do not sleep in the master bedroom. If you hear footsteps, it's already too late. My throat tightened. Another review. Owner knows what's wrong with this house. They shouldn't be renting it out. Another. Check the walls. What did that mean? Why the walls? I scanned the room with my phone, flashlight, panic rising, and then I saw it. A seam in the wallpaper. Too straight. Too clean. A hidden panel. My stomach dropped, because the seam was right behind the bed. Right behind where I had been sleeping. I slowly peeled the wallpaper back. It came off too easily, like it had been removed and put back many times. Behind it, a small, rectangular cutout. A hidden compartment. Something was inside. I reached in with trembling fingers and pulled out a shoe. Small, old, women's size. Then a wallet. Dusty. Cracked leather. Inside was a driver's license. The woman's face was faded, but I could still make out her smile. I checked the name. She was the person listed as missing from the local area. Last seen in this very house. My heartbeat hammered against my ribs. Someone else's belongings. Hidden. Inside the wall of the bedroom I was sleeping in. I backed away from the compartment, shaking. The footsteps in the attic stopped again. Then, very slowly, they started coming down. Not stairs. No. It sounded like someone was climbing down inside the walls. The wood creaked. The plaster strained. The sound moved downward. Closer. Closer. Until it reached the back of my wall. I took a step back. Another creak. Another. Then a soft dragging sound. Right behind the wall where the hidden items were found. I whispered, "No, no." The doorknob to my room rattled suddenly. Once. Hard. Then again. Louder. Rattle. Rattle. Whatever was behind the wall paused. Whatever was outside, the door pressed its weight against it. Two things. Inside the walls and outside the door. At the same time, I stood there, trapped in the middle, not knowing where to run, not knowing which direction was worse. The door creaked. Slowly, painfully, slowly. The locks clicked on their own, one by one, unlocking. My throat tightened. The door opened a fraction, just enough for darkness to spill inward like liquid. I stepped back, heart pounding so loudly I thought the thing behind the door could hear it. Then the footsteps returned right outside. Heavy, slow, like someone was standing in the hallway waiting for me, breathing, listening. The door pushed open another inch, and then another, until there was a narrow gap, a dark space I couldn't see into. My voice cracked as I whispered to myself, should I hide, escape, or confront whatever's behind that door? But the door answered for me. It opened fully, on its own, with a long, slow groan, revealing nothing but the pitch-black hallway. Not empty, just dark enough to hide something that didn't want to be seen yet. The last thing I heard was a step, not from the hallway, from inside the wall behind me. Tell me, What would you have done if footsteps circled you from both the doorway and the walls? Hide, run, or freeze? Some stories begin with noise. This one began with silence. A silence so complete, so unnatural, it felt like someone had taken the world and pressed mute. I had just moved into a new apartment, a small, single-bedroom place on the ground floor. Cheap rent, old flooring, thin walls, but it felt like a fresh start. The first 2 nights were uneventful. The third night, everything changed. It started at 2:46 a.m. I woke up suddenly. Not startled, not scared, just awake, as if something had tapped me on the shoulder from inside my dream and whispered, "Wake up. You need to see this." The apartment was completely dark, but something felt off. The kind of off where your body reacts before your brain understands why. Have you ever woken up and known you weren't alone? Known that someone or something was in the room with you? I held my breath and listened. Nothing. Then something shifted. Not in the bedroom. Outside. In the living room. A soft, almost gentle dragging sound, like fabric brushing against the couch. I slowly sat up, heart thudding. I listened again. Silence. But not empty silence, occupied silence. Like the air was holding its breath too. I slipped out of bed and tiptoed toward the slightly open bedroom door. The hallway beyond was pitch black, but my eyes adjusted enough to see faint outlines. I reached for the light switch, but something made me stop. A cold, instinctive warning deep in my spine. Don't turn on the light. Don't draw attention to yourself. I let my hand fall. Instead, I leaned my head slightly toward the hallway, and that's when I heard it. Breathing. Slow, deep. Not mine. Not coming from the bedroom. From the living room. I felt my entire body go rigid. I whispered to myself, "There's someone in the house." And then another sound. A soft thud, as if someone had just sat down. On my couch. I reached for my phone. The screen's faint glow lit my face. One new notification. My security camera, the old cheap one I'd set up facing the living room, had triggered. Motion detected 2:52 a.m. My heart hammered. With shaking hands, I opened the camera feed. At first, the screen was dark. Just grainy night vision static. Then the image resolved. And there he was. A man, sitting on my couch, not moving, not looking around, just sitting perfectly upright, facing the hallway, facing me. I couldn't see his face, it was too dark, only the outline of his body was visible. But the worst part wasn't that he was there, it was the way he sat, completely still, hands on his knees, feet planted firmly on the floor, like he was waiting. My throat tightened. I zoomed in. His head wasn't straight. It was tilted, a sharp, unnatural tilt like his neck was bent at a wrong angle, listening for the slightest sound. And then he moved, just his head, so slowly, so smoothly, turning toward the camera, turning toward me. Even though I knew he couldn't see me through the phone, it felt like he was staring straight into my eyes. Have you ever felt a presence watching you through a screen? That cold, instinctive fear, like the image is aware of you? That's what it felt like. I stepped back from the phone, heart racing. The man in the camera feed did something even worse. He stood up, slowly, deliberately. Then he took one step toward the hallway, toward my bedroom. In real life, outside the door, I heard the floorboard creak. My knees nearly buckled. I whispered, barely breathing, "No, no, no." I backed away from the door, grabbed my nightstand lamp like a weapon, and pressed myself against the far wall. My phone buzzed again. A second motion alert. Motion detected bedroom hallway. My body turned to ice. I forced myself to look at the camera feed again. And there he was, standing in the hallway, just inches from my bedroom door. His head still tilted, hands at his sides, still staring at the camera, at me. But something was wrong. His legs, they were blurry, not out of focus moving, twitching, vibrating, shifting too fast for the camera to process, like he wasn't standing still at all, like he was struggling to hold himself in one place. My breath caught in my throat. The floorboard outside my door creaked again. He was right there, right on the other side. I pressed my back against the wall harder, gripping the lamp until my fingers ached. The doorknob turned, slowly, silently, once, twice, then stopped. A pause, dead quiet. Then, bang, a single, violent slam against the door. I screamed. The camera feed froze, glitched, then came back. The man was no longer in the hallway. The camera now showed only static. Then, a notification popped up. Camera offline. The air in my bedroom shifted. The temperature dropped. I felt something on the other side of the room. Not moving. Not breathing loudly. Just there. Watching. I turned slowly. Heart in my throat. The shape was faint. A darker patch in the dark. Standing in the corner of my room. Head tilted. Like he had been waiting for me to notice. I whispered, "How did you get in?" The shape twitched. Then jerked violently. Then vanished. Just gone. No sound. No footsteps. No movement. Only the sensation that he hadn't left. That he had simply become part of the shadows. I didn't sleep. I didn't stay. By morning, I left everything behind. But sometimes, in the corner of my eye, I still see the silhouette of someone sitting perfectly still, on the couch, waiting. Tell me, if you saw someone sitting in your living room at 3 a.m., perfectly still, facing the hallway, would you check the camera? Or would you pretend you didn't see anything and hope it didn't see you first? The night is quiet now, but only on the surface. You've listened to 5 voices, 5 whispers from the edge of sleep. 5 people who stepped into the dark and came back different. Somewhere out there, another engine hums under a lonely highway. Another set of footsteps creaks across an empty hall. Another door opens when no one is home. And someone, maybe someone like you, is lying awake tonight, feeling the weight of a presence just outside the edge of their vision. Let me ask you something. When you turn off the lights tonight, will you feel alone? Or will you notice the shift in the air? The cold? The way the shadows seem to lean in as if they've been listening too. If you've made it this far into the darkness, you're one of us now. Before you go, tell me in the comments, which story stayed with you the longest? Which moment made your stomach drop? Which detail replayed in your mind long after the scene ended? And if you have your own nightmare, your own encounter, your own story the world needs to hear, send it in. You might hear it whispered back to you in a future episode. Thank you for walking through the dark with me tonight. I hope you make it back to your room safely. I hope nothing follows you. And I hope truly that the next sound you hear isn't a soft breath behind your door. Until next time, stay alert, stay curious. And whatever you do, don't look behind you. And if you want more stories, more warnings, more things that you probably shouldn't watch alone, and subscribe. Because the next shadow might be yours.